How to deal with people so nobody can affect you again. Most people go through life letting others control their emotions. Someone says something rude and they're upset for hours. Someone doesn't text back and they spiral into anxiety. Someone criticizes them and they question everything about themselves. But here's the truth. You're only as affected by people as you allow yourself to be. And when you learn how to emotionally detach from other people's behavior, you become untouchable. So in the next 8 minutes, I'm going to show you 4 powerful strategies that will change how you deal with people forever. Let's get into it. Strategy 1. Stop taking things personally. The first strategy is simple but life-changing. Stop taking things personally. Most of the time, when someone is rude, dismissive, or hurtful, it has nothing to do with you. It's about them. Their insecurities, their bad day, their unresolved issues. But we make the mistake of internalizing it. We think, what did I do wrong? Why don't they like me? What's wrong with me? And that's where the pain comes from. Let me give you a perfect example from a movie. In The Devil Wears Prada, there's a scene where Miranda Priestley, the intimidating fashion editor, tears apart Andy's outfit in front of everyone. She makes a condescending speech about how Andy's blue sweater represents years of fashion decisions that Andy is completely oblivious to. Most people in Andy's position would take that personally. They'd feel small, embarrassed, humiliated. But here's the thing. Miranda's behavior isn't really about Andy. It's about Miranda's need for control, her perfectionism, her own pressure to maintain power in a cutthroat industry. When you understand that people's behavior is a reflection of them, not you, everything changes. Someone snaps at you, they're probably stressed. Someone dismisses your opinion, they're probably insecure about their own. Someone tries to tear you down, they're probably threatened by you. Once you see this pattern, you stop absorbing other people's negativity. You let it bounce off you because you realize it was never about you in the first place. Here's another great example. In The Pursuit of Happiness, Chris Gardner faces constant rejection, disrespect, and dismissal. People look down on him because he's homeless, struggling, doesn't have the right connections, but he doesn't internalize it. He doesn't let other people's judgments define him. He understands that their behavior reflects their limitations, not his worth. And that mindset is what allows him to keep pushing forward until he succeeds. Strategy 2. Master emotional detachment. The second strategy is learning emotional detachment, and no, that doesn't mean becoming cold or unfeeling. It means creating space between what happens and how you react. Most people are reactive. Something happens and they immediately respond with emotion. Someone criticizes them and they get defensive. Someone ignores them and they feel anxious. Someone challenges them and they get angry. There's no gap between the trigger and the reaction. But emotionally detached people have mastered the pause. Something happens and instead of reacting immediately, they observe. They notice the emotion rising, but they don't let it control them. They ask themselves, is this worth my energy? Does this person's opinion actually matter? Will this matter tomorrow, next week, next year? And most of the time, the answer is no. Think about how Jason Bourne operates in the Bourne movies. He's constantly in high-pressure situations where people are trying to manipulate him, provoke him, or get reactions out of him. But he stays calm. He observes, he processes information without letting emotions cloud his judgment. That emotional detachment is what makes him so effective and so difficult to control. Here's how you practice this. Next time someone does something that would normally upset you, take a breath. Literally pause for 3 seconds before you respond. In that pause, you create space. And in that space, you have a choice. You can choose to react emotionally or you can choose to respond calmly. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Eventually, emotional detachment becomes your default. And when that happens, people lose their power over you because you're no longer giving them your emotional energy. Strategy 3, set invisible boundaries. The third strategy is setting what I call invisible boundaries. Most people think boundaries are about telling others what they can and can't do, but that rarely works because you can't control other people's behavior. What you can control is how much access they have to you, your energy, and your emotions. Invisible boundaries are internal rules you set for yourself. For example, you might decide, I will not engage with people who disrespect me. So when someone is rude, instead of arguing or trying to change them, you simply disengage. You walk away, you stop responding, you remove yourself from the situation. You're not making a scene. You're not announcing your boundary. You're just quietly enforcing it. Another invisible boundary might be, I will not take on other people's problems as my own. So when someone comes to you complaining, venting, or trying to drag you into drama, you listen, but you don't absorb it. You don't let their stress become your stress. You stay neutral, detached, and uninvolved emotionally. Look at how Katniss Everdeen operates in the Hunger Games. She's constantly surrounded by people trying to use her, manipulate her, or control her narrative. The Capitol, the rebels, even her allies, all have agendas. But she sets internal boundaries. She decides what she will and won't participate in. She doesn't announce it. She doesn't argue about it, she just quietly maintains her autonomy. And that's what keeps her from being completely controlled by the forces around her. The beauty of invisible boundaries is that you don't need anyone's permission to set them. You don't need to explain yourself. You just decide what you will and won't tolerate, and you act accordingly. And when people realize they can't get a reaction out of you, they either adjust their behavior or they fade out of your life. Either way, you win. Strategy 4, reframe negativity as information. The fourth strategy is one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can make. Instead of letting negativity affect you, reframe it as information. When someone criticizes you, dismisses you, or tries to bring you down, don't take it as a personal attack. Take it as data. What is this person revealing about themselves? What insecurity are they projecting? What does their behavior tell me about how I should interact with them moving forward? Let's go back to The Devil Wears Prada. When Miranda belittles Andy, Andy could spiral and take it personally. But if she reframes it, she'd see that Miranda's behavior reveals her values, her expectations, and the environment Andy is navigating. That's useful information. It tells Andy how to operate in that space. It doesn't have to hurt her. It just informs her strategy. Here's another example. Let's say someone spreads a rumor about you. Most people would be devastated, but if you reframe it as information, you'd ask, what does this tell me about this person? They're insecure, they're threatened by me, they don't have the courage to address me directly. Now you know who they are, and you can decide how much energy you want to invest in that relationship. Probably none. Think about how Sherlock Holmes processes people in the Sherlock series. When someone is rude, manipulative, or trying to deceive him, he doesn't get emotional about it. He observes. He gathers information. He asks, what does this behavior reveal? And then he uses that information strategically. That detached, analytical approach is what makes him so effective at navigating complex social situations. When you start viewing negativity as information rather than an attack, you become emotionally untouchable. Because nothing people do can hurt you anymore. It just gives you clarity about who they are and how you should move forward. And that level of detachment is incredibly powerful. So to recap, stop taking things personally and recognize that people's behavior is about them, not you. Master emotional detachment by creating space between what happens and how you react. Set invisible boundaries that protect your energy without needing anyone's permission. And reframe negativity as information that gives you clarity instead of pain. When you apply these 4 strategies, you'll notice something incredible. People will still do what they do. They'll still be rude, dismissive, or hurtful, but it won't affect you anymore because you've built an emotional resilience that makes you untouchable. You're no longer giving people power over your peace, and that's when you truly become free.